I needed to see this project through. There's a lot of beauty that can come from it.
Firstly, Yasmin, congratulations on the release.
Thank you. It's been an amazing experience.
Now, Can You See Us has been a phenomenon. Like within weeks, it's in the top 10 in a number of countries. Did you expect it to have such an impact?
No way. I never expected that the movie would reach so far around the world. Seeing people give TikTok reviews on a movie you've made and produced has just been an amazing experience. Seeing that it's number one in Nigeria, it's reached the UK top 10, top 10 in America, hitting the top 5 in South Africa. It's just been mind-blowing that a project that I produced has reached that far. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that, but I did know at some point I did want it to go around the world. So yeah.
What are some of the thoughts that you had about the project before you decided to get involved?
My first thought about the project was after reading the script, I felt this story is such a beautiful story. It's such a compelling story that needed to be told. The characters were beautiful. But then I was also very worried if I would be ready as a producer to produce my first feature film. So I had a lot of self-doubt and, could I do this? Would I do it right? But the moment the director, who is my husband, Kenny Mumba, and I got into preparations, planning shots, looking at locations, putting teams together, kind of looking at what type of equipment and what his expectations were as a director, I became more confident as a producer, more confident as a female producer coming out of Zambia.
So now, as the producer, during production, which scene in the movie would you say was the most emotional for you, where maybe you thought to yourself, like, let's all just take a moment to regroup?
It was definitely the funeral scene. Seeing Joseph walk up to the podium at the funeral and mourn his parents. Having John Chiti on set that day, sitting at the back of that hall and just seeing this whole scene unfold, for me was very emotional. And I think everybody felt it, seeing the coffins there, the pictures of his parents. We all needed a moment after that. It was a heavy scene for me as a producer.
So there's been much that's been said about Thabo, a brilliant actor, by the way, and how she portrayed the character of Joseph. What was the process like leading up to casting her to play a boy?
I think I've said this in other interviews where a week before we started shooting, we still did not have the lead to play little Joseph. And finding that lead was proving to be really hard for us. We had reached out to East Africa, West Africa, South Africa as well. But here walked in a little girl. She came in and was introduced to me by Big Robert Nyirenda, who's also in the movie and plays Madman. And he was our acting coach for the movie. He's brilliant at what he does, by the way. So he walks in with this little girl. She's confident, she's bold, she's energetic. And I'm thinking to myself, could she be the one? She's a little girl. How do we pull this off? So I have her audition. And the moment she gets into character, I'm like, we found her. She's the one. She's the one. She's a star. And from that point on, it was a process of bringing her to the director and executive producer, having her audition for them. And I think they felt it as strong as I did. Having to sit down with her mom and say, she's going to play the role of a boy. And I remember one conversation with her mom where she literally took over the conversation. I'm sitting with her mom trying to get this concept very clear that she'll be playing a boy. She'd have to cut her hair. She'd have to dress as a little boy. She'd have to learn how to play the guitar and really just immerse herself in this character. And before her mom could answer in this soft tone, she quickly responded boldly and was like, yeah, I can do it. And I remember at that point, I turned around and looked at this child and I thought, yeah, she's the one. She's ready. And just the willingness of her mom to allow her to speak for herself and accept the role was amazing for me, because that also showed me how a parent's role in allowing your children to be who they're supposed to be is beautiful.
We've learned now that the movie is based on the life of singer John Chiti. That's one of the first things that pops up on the screen when the movie begins. Did you manage to interact with him and perhaps draw from his experiences?
I got to interact with John Chiti on set. Obviously, as you're producing, you have to feel his emotion and make sure that the emotion he's feeling is in line and is as accurate as possible with the stuff that you're filming. And I'll go back to the scene of the funeral, for example. Having him on set on that day was so important. And just sitting next to him, and you can literally feel the emotion that he felt in that moment, and that he was taken back to a loss that he had felt in his life was so key. So yes, I did get to interact with John Chiti. It was amazing to see this vibrant, happy person and literally read the story of his life and realize how much he's been through, how much he's experienced, and how much he continues to experience in the lives of other people who are living with albinism as well.
So now if you reflect on all this love that you're getting now for the movie, why do you think this movie is having such a deep impact and resonating with audiences globally?
Wow. When I think of the love we're receiving now from around the world, I think Can You See Us resonates with every human being, because the world is literally, everybody's looking for love and acceptance and some type of kindness in a time when everything around us seems so harsh and so hard. So it's amazing. It's overwhelming at times to receive messages from people in places that you never even thought your movie would reach. And somebody sends you a DM on Instagram and says, I just finished watching your movie and it's made me cry. And little do you know that this movie you created resonates with my life. I was ill-treated by a stepmom, or I was rejected by my family for whatever reason. Can You See Us reminds a lot of us as human beings that love and acceptance and kindness towards the next person is a key human need that the world is missing right now.
Now, obviously, this couldn't have been an easy task. When I look at the credits that roll at the end of the movie, there are almost like 200 names on the screen. It's easy to tell that there is a lot involved in coordinating the project. What keeps you motivated and going during productions?
Passion. Passion first. A craving for excellence, always wanting to do something and do it right. Passion. And I think also the wanting to be better than I was on my last project. This was my first feature film, so the weight I felt on myself and the pressure I put on myself to be better as a producer was heavy. The planning of the whole shoot was just, it needed every detail to be perfectly in place. And in my mind, I just needed everything to go perfectly. But of course, being production from day one, there was things that were not falling into place. For example, I had a miscarriage a day before the first day of shoot, which was totally unexpected. I had just found out I was pregnant, and then boom, But I made sure I was on set that first day of shoot, not because I needed to prove anything to anybody, not even because I needed to prove to myself in that moment, but just because I wasn't going to give up. This was just another thing I needed to get past. And I knew this project would have a life of its own. I didn't understand the reach that this story would have, but I did understand that I needed to be there. I needed to support my team. I needed my team to support me in that moment, whether they knew what was going on or not. And I needed to see this project through. There was something special about Can You See Us. From the get-go, it's had a journey of its own. And we're kind of just on this journey with the movie. But that's the beauty of production sometimes. It's not totally in your control. And when it's not totally in your control, there's a lot of beauty that can come from it.
Say this. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
Breathe.
I don't care where you go. I strong.
I am strong.
I am worthy.
I am worthy.
I belong.
I belong.
Didn't I tell you that we don't play with people like you?
They could never understand you. And what they don't understand, they fear. And what they fear, they seek to destroy.
So, what's next?
More movies, scripting, learning more about film. I don't think, coming from a background where there are no film schools, being self-taught as a producer, constantly wanting to do better and bigger projects. Of course, now my aim is to learn how to script, and I'm in the process of doing that. Also, just making sure we tell more African stories. I think the world needs to receive African stories that are told by Africans, because then you feel the richness of the culture, you feel the richness of the people, and you feel the authenticity of the stories in the way they're told, from the locations to the dress codes to the skin tones. And it's really important that producers like myself take more African stories to the world. And can you see us as proof of that the world is hungry for more African stories with the real accents, with the real skin tones, with the real look and feel of who we are as African people, because we are rich with culture, we are rich with music, we're rich with so much that we need to share the world. And I think the world is ready for that now.